Hey everyone, Zeddy here again to do the brand new video, and I thought I'd do a video going over one of the topics that I'm asked a lot about, especially since I seem to be so unhappy with the current metas. What are your favorite decks? What's your favorite meta? When was the game good in your opinion? And, well, I thought, well, what's a better way of doing that than going over my 5 favorite decks that I've enjoyed playing in Hearthstone history. So, let's get started. I'll start with number 5 here, is Control Warrior. I like playing slow decks, and I like playing Control here and there. And Control Warrior, with this Dr. Boom deck, this was during, I guess, the old Doom meta, so pretty recently, I just quite enjoy playing it. I hit rank 1 legend the only time I've done it with this deck, and it just did everything. It would control the board with all your early game, or rover, all that stuff, and we ran silence in here because there's a lot of like death rattle stuff going on. Like Mech Hunter especially was very popular, and they had a lot of death rattles. And yeah, you had Dr. Boom at 7 mana. Discover nerf hadn't happened yet. You can get like a million Devastators and Dynamatics. The deck was just incredibly flexible, good, could beat up on a lot of stuff. Only struggled against like Pocket Galaxy, which you could play on 5 mana at the time. And yeah, you had Elysiana in here, which a lot of people probably don't miss those days of that being meta, but I really enjoyed it. Really let the control player in me come out, and I got to win a lot of mirrors because even though this did have kind of infinite resources with Boom and Assembly and Elysiana, it still really came down to who utilized it better and who tempoed the other player out. And I just quite enjoyed the deck. I love me some Control, and it was a good variant of Control Warrior. Next on the list we'll take a look at is Miracle Rogue, number 4 on my list. There's been so many different variants, and Miracle Rogue existed well before I started playing Hearthstone. I didn't start playing until GVG came out, so I'm a little bit later to the party. Not too late, but I played versions with like Conceal, Questing Explorers, Tomb Pillagers, but I'm highlighting this list. This is Sherazin Miracle Rogue. I think I remember seeing Eloise. She used to play competitive Hearthstone for Tempo Storm. I believe she hit rank 1 legend with this, and I started playing it, and I loved it. It's Miracle. You got your Auctioneer, you got that kind of stuff going on, but it was about playing Sherazin and constantly reviving Sherazin. You could get like value with Hallucination that could discover a random card from your opponent's class, but basically going with Auctioneer, prep, backstab, counterfeit coin back in the day, and then you would cycle through your deck, you could resummon Sherazin, and then you start slamming 0 mana 8/8 arcane giants down. And it was just so much fun to play, hyper cycling your deck, getting giants. Of course, you still had the broken giant Edwin, which has always been broken. Don't just let it be, oh wait, why is it in the deck? I thought it was just lackeys. No, it's always been busted. But yeah, really solid deck, and Vilespine is also one of the more powerful cards ever made in Rogue. The 5 mana slay a minion. I love this deck. It was so addicting. I miss Miracle Rogue days, man. I miss playing Auctioneer and cycling a bunch of cards. It was just such a fun experience. And yeah, you got smashed in the face playing the deck a lot, but had a ton of fun playing it. Next, number 3 on the list is a Priest deck. Someone like me who likes to hate on Priest, although I've been playing a lot of Galakron Priest lately. The original Rizakis Priest. This is right after, I believe, Mean Streets. No, not Mean Streets. This is like Frozen Throne, Kobolds, and Catacombs, I believe, time, because Psychic Scream is in there, and that was from Kobolds. I just love this deck. It was just the ultra combo deck, and you know, it functions like it does in Wild. You want your Raza for your 0 mana hero power. You want Anduin to pew-pew your opponent, but this was a lot more combo-driven. You had Auctioneer to help you cycle. You had Acolyte Wild Pyro. You had Northshire Cleric and Circle of Healing. And you didn't have Reno. Reno had already rotated in Wild, so in Standard, this deck was about, it was called Rizakis. It wasn't Reno Priest, it was Rizakis, because you had Raza and you had Kazakis, and Kazakis could give you some, you know, removal spells and all that. And I don't know, it was a blast to play. I love pew-pewing, doing combos, getting my my Velen on with Mind Blast and Smite and all of that. I played this deck so much that I started an EU account. This is the deck that got me to make an EU account. I played it so much on NA that I'm like, you know what? I want to hit Legend again with the deck on another server. I think I was like top 100 or something. I always get like ladder anxiety. So I'm like, you know what? Let's make an EU account. And literally from day one, I just played the EU account till I could make this deck. I think I bought an adventure and I bought some packs. And I literally hit Golden Priest in a month playing this deck. Like, I was so addicted to it. And it's funny, I have not got addicted to it ever since it's been reverted. I just haven't had the same connection to the current versions. It's all about the OG Rizakis Priest for me. And man, did I play that deck a lot. Next on the list, number 2. Gunther Mage, or also known as Discover Mage. This was an Ungoro meta deck. It was like a mid-range tempo burn deck. You played Mana 1-on-1. It was a 1-mana 1/3 at the time, gain +1 attack for every spell. And that could just solo. You got your Glyph, you got Sorcerer's Apprentice, you had Medivh's Valet. But the deck was kind of built around stalling with your Ice Block, your Barrier, and getting value from like Cabal Courier. It would discover, it was like a tri-class discover card. Could discover like Priest, Mage, or Warlock cards. And you had Fireland's Portal for random 5-drops, and the centerpiece of it all was Medivh the Guardian. It's an 8-mana 7/7. It would equip a weapon called Atiesh, and Atiesh is a 1/3 weapon, and for every it would lose a durability for every spell you would cast, and it would summon a random minion of that same cost. So you played a Fireland's Portal, you get a random 5-drop from the portal, and you get a random 7-drop since it's a 7-mana spell. And you could do some really stupid stuff. Like, you could get Doomguard, for instance, off of the 5-drop and, I don't know, hit Velen on the 7, then play a Frostbolt and do double damage. You also ran a Pyroblast and Alex just to try and burn your opponent down. I played this deck probably more than any deck in the history of Hearthstone outside of my number 1. I loved it. It was only meta, really, for this expansion. But the Ungoro meta, for me, is absolutely my favorite. We went over that on my favorite expansions tier list. And this deck was just so much fun, and it had like the right balance. If you haven't noticed, a lot of these decks have RNG elements. I complain about RNG all the time, but like a deck like this, it has Babbling Book, it has Glyph, it has Cabal Courier, and then has like randomly summoned minions. But that's it. Like, it's cut off there. It's not like today where every card creates another card that creates another card, and it's just ridiculous. There was some randomness, so every game was slightly different, but it was with a reasonable variance, right? Like, it made every game unique, but it wasn't so obnoxious that you couldn't play around literally everything. Don't get me wrong, there were games where you would scam with ridiculous random stuff, but overall, it was a lot more reasonable. So, really enjoyed this deck. It was super fun. I wish I could play it in Wild, but man, 1-mana Mana Worm carried a lot, and power creeps happened a lot, but really cool deck. One of my favorites. And before we hit number 1, my number 1 favorite deck, I want to do a few honorable mentions. I really enjoyed Q-Block. Q-Block was one of my favorites back before it got nerfed because it was so broken. You had like the Spiteful Lackey or whatever, the 5-mana 2/2 get a demon out of your deck. You had Skull of Gul'dan, of course, and you had a Dark Pact 1-mana heal 8, kill a minion. It was just nuts. And yeah. I played a lot of Q-Block after Raza Priest got nerfed, and then Q-Block got nerfed, so enjoyed that one quite a bit. Another honorable mention would be Kingsbane Mill Rogue in Wild, the one that was built around buffing the crap out of your weapon, giving it leeching poison, and then going infinite with like Cold Lights and Lab Recruiters and milling your opponent to death while you're hitting them in the face with like a 20 attack lifesteal weapon. It was the most degenerate deck I've ever played, but it was so much fun to play it. You never wanted to face it. It was horrible. And when it got nerfed, I understood, and I get it, and I'm glad it's nerfed. But man, was it fun not only milling my opponents to death, but hitting them in the face with a gigantic lifesteal weapon so I could even beat up on aggro. So, now, let's go to my number 1 favorite deck of all time. And that would be Malygos Druid. If you know me at all, it shouldn't be a big surprise. I have played so many different variants of Malygos Druid over the years, and I just never seem to get enough. I love my combo decks, I love my Malygos, I love my cheating of mana with Malygos, and I have played every version of it since basically Blackrock Mountain came out, because Emperor came out then, and you could start discounting Mali with some burn, and that kind of became a theme basically for every Malydruid deck ever. And I'm highlighting this one here. This is the Malygos Arcane Giant Druid. I believe this was like a staple during like when Pavel won the World Championships. There was like Pavel and I think Amnesiac both played a Mali list, and it was built around Emperor Thorson. You would discount on Malagos. You would get Arcane Giants. You could cycle through your deck. You had Nourish to draw or ramp. Typically was draw back in the day because you didn't have things like UI. And you had a little bit of discover options like Raven Idol. Again, a little bit of RNG, never hurts too much. And you could discover a couple like extra burn, extra draw, things like that. And of course, we have our favorite RNG boy in there, Yogg Saron. He could just flat out steal games, and he was in this deck both pre and post nerf. So he was in there to scam games when, you know, he could infinitely cast spells without dying, but you still threw him in there even if he would go off, would stop after he died or transform, because it was just, Druid never could really get the board back. It was always a struggle to clear, so it was always that good YOLO desperation. But I've played a lot of variants. I think the one I've played the most is not this one. The one I've played the most was the version with Twig. Someone even made a Reddit post highlighting, like, look how much Zeddy's played, and I think it showed like 2,500 games. If I can find it post editing, I'll put it on the screen. You can see how ridiculous my amount of games played with it. But I don't know. I love sticking to a deck and mastering it, and Malagos Druid throughout the years has just been amazing. And I'll also highlight my wild version, which I absolutely love too, which was my Aviana Kuhn Ixlid version, where I would play Aviana for 9, Kuhn for 10, play Ixlid, that 5-mana 2/4 legendary literally nobody else has ever played. I'd slam Malagos down, which would get 2 Malagoses, and then I faceless that, which would give me 2 more, and I'd have 4 Malagos. So Moonfire would do 21 damage. So you just need 2 burn spells to kill anything unless they have armor. Even like Warrior that had like 100 armor, I can get through that no problem. So that was also another version I liked. And that version I took from rank 12 in Wild. I just created a garbage version of it. I was the first one to try it. And I took it from rank 12 to Wild to rank 2 Legend in Wild in one day with an 85% win rate because everyone was playing Reno Priest, right? And we just farmed all of them. They never knew what came at them. So had a lot of love for a lot of different versions of Malagos Druid. I'm going to highlight the Arcane Giant Yogg one, but they're all awesome. And I still play Malagos Druid to this day with the whole Sathravar version. I just can't stop, so hope you guys enjoyed it. Get a little more insight on the mind of what I've enjoyed in Hearthstone. A lot of degenerate combo, a lot of control, and a little bit of mid-range in the bunch. Let me know what your favorite decks of all time are in the comments below. I'd love to hear it. It's always a fun discussion. If you like the video, please like and subscribe. It helps the channel a ton. Have a great day. Stay salty, my friends.